Video games. They let us experience the things we can't do in real life. Let it be the good or the bad.
And the downright ugly.
Though the bad is typically the more fun option.
Enacting whatever misdeed you were once denied can almost be fantastic. Pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth.
Though most game titles don't let you commit evil for the purpose of good, none of the titles I've played before have come close to encapsulating the feeling of being a god killer like the God of War series has. But in all seriousness, these games were amazing. But the most recent one, God of War 4, while drastically different in gameplay, story, and characters, is one of the best. Heck, the user ratings on Metacritic sure agree, and it was even voted Game of the Year 2018. And that wasn't easy, it had some steep competition. Most of the AAA games that released that year were jaw-dropping to say the least. Red Dead Redemption, Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Spider-Man PS4 all came out the same year as God of War. Even the indie games were phenomenal, the most memorable arguably being Celeste. Though that doesn't diminish how truly stunning this game is. In almost all of its departments, graphics, voice acting, story, gameplay, characters, sound design, music, and last but not least, the open world, God of War is a masterpiece. God of War was one of my first big PS4 games, but with the majority of the titles I played taking place on the 360 or Wii, there weren't many great open world games to play. While God of War has a good open world, it's definitely one of its weakest legs. There's a decent amount of things to do, but not a whole lot of replayability to be found. A lot of the open world activities are fine by themselves, but they don't provide enough of a substantial reward to incentivize you to go exploring. Once completing the game, you are able to explore all the realms to your heart's content. Nope, just kidding. There are only 6 accessible locations, and one of them is only playable in the endgame part of the story.
So that doesn't really count. Each realm is pretty unique from one another. They're all connected by the realm tree, similar to real Norse mythology. There are some pretty fun side quests to be found in the realms, but Midgard easily takes the cake for having the most. Some of my favorites being the Hidden Island one and the Secondhand Souls side quest. I'd probably say the Valkyrie one if I had completed it, but I'm just a little too trash at the combat to finish that one. While the world is pretty nice to look at, I never felt an urge to explore. The story is the main reason I and most people are going to be playing the game.
Kratos is a sad Discord mod who plays anime games all day long with his Vladimir Putin waifu body pillow. Atreus is a Fortnite sweaty tryhard whose hobby is entering fake V-Bucks giveaways. Brock was the Rick and Morty fan screaming at McDonald's about the secret sauce. Sindri is a Reddit monitor who hasn't showered since the gods got along peacefully. Mimir is Einstein's loser twin brother who now spends all his time watching WatchMojo top 10 lists. Baldur is the local hipster who always uses Starbucks coffees as his own personal unit of measurement.
We start off watching a rather old Kratos just having the angriest tree cutting session. Shortly after, we're introduced to his young son Atreus, who, like us, doesn't 100% know what's going on. One boat ride later, Kratos and Atreus begin to cremate their recently deceased mother/wife, Faye. After that, it's time to begin Atreus' first hunt, but you can imagine how well that goes. After fighting a giant troll, they decide to go back home. Now, before Kratos can give his son a proper lesson on personal boundaries, their friendly stranger knocks on the door. He begins to talk a big game, and seeing how Kratos is too old for this, he doesn't take too kindly to the rather rude greeting. Fighting ensues. Turns out this new guy's pretty tough, and we learn that he can't feel a thing.
I can't feel any of this.
In a bloody wonks amount of time, Kratos makes the decision to take his son and immediately head to the tallest point in all of the realms to spread Faye's ashes. After unsuccessfully crossing a bridge, Kratos and Atreus meet Brock, a blue-skinned, unfriendly dwarf. Luckily though, he's kind enough to offer them his services, seeing as how they helped him with his transportation issue. The two then leave Brock to himself to continue on to their adventure. In the middle of a failed boar target practice attempt, Kratos loses Atreus. Once they reunite and wound the pig, they meet the Witch of the Woods, who becomes outraged at the sight of her punctured friend. Kratos and his son help the witch out by gathering herbs to heal the animal. The pair then go their merry way down to the Lake of Nine. Kratos drops his axe in the water, which then results in the whole lake draining. This wakes up a helpful little snake named Jormungandr. Once the water level gets low enough, they reach Tyr's temple. As they head up the mountain, a black mist blocks them from their path. Freya then appears out of the blue just to tell the pair that they have to go somewhere else. Alfenheim is our next destination, but we first need to turn the whole bridge manually. Now that Kratos is finished doing the heavy lifting for now, they can keep on trekking. After traveling through realms, Freya is immediately ripped from our hands. With Kratos and Atreus now alone, they discover themselves at the tail end of a long-standing war. In just a few axe throws, puzzles, and dialogue sections, they arrive at the Light of Alfenheim. Kratos chooses to enter the light, as instructed. He runs around for a few minutes, almost seeing his wife's spirit, but before he can, he's pulled away by a distraught Atreus. What only felt like a few moments for Kratos was hours, maybe days for Atreus. With the light in their hands, their business with Alfenheim has concluded. Automatically, they adventure up to the mountain to wave the mist away. In the span of a few puzzles and scrimmages, we finally ride up to the mountain. But oh no, we're stopped by the unfriendliest dragon, and again, fighting ensues. Kratos kills the dragon. This results in the coolest and my personal favorite cutscene. Let's have a watch. Next, we take a short stroll down. Oh, and there's our friend from earlier with his nephews. Apparently, he's a bit sour from our previous fight, and he thought it'd be a good idea to bark up this particular tree to find our whereabouts. They leave after being rejected by a tree, of all things. Kratos and Atreus climb up to meet not a tree. His name is
Mimir, smartest man alive. And I have the answer to your every question.
That's pretty cool. He tells us that this is not the place we're looking for, and in fact, it's in the realm called Jotunheim. Also, the guy who's been hunting us is named Baldur. We invite him to come along with us and... Oh wow. Okay. Alrighty, now we have to visit Freya so she can reanimate what's left of her friend. Freya freaks out about our lovely green arrows, and one dip in grape soda later, and we have Mimir back. Also, Freya is a god. Ooh, awkward. We then head on over to meet Jormungandr once again to get a little advice on how to get into Jotunheim. He says we need a chisel, one to carve into the rune of the mountain, so we can get to our destination. The pair then come across an... Because he was a frost giant, when he died, his final breath froze all of the immediate area, thus creating the ice which blocks our path. Kratos says,
I have a plan.
You do?
We then climb up onto a Mjolnir statue. Kratos gives one big push, which results in the hammer falling down and breaking the ice. One climb down later, a nice change of pace, we can finally get to the chisel. But oh no, we're stopped by Magni and Modi, nephews of Baldur and sons of Thor. After this short oopsie, we nab our chisel. Next, our two protagonists waltz down to Tyr's vault, which holds the route the giants took to get to Jotunheim. Oh no, Modi's back with the thirst for vengeance and a dire need for a proper relationship with his father. With Atreus having a bad case of the flu, we take him to the only doctor we know. Freya tells Kratos that he needs the heart of a gatekeeper, which can only be found in hell. But first, we need the weapon that could combat the cold winds of Helheim. On our boat ride back to our house, we get a rather disturbing visit from a weeping angel. I mean Athena. You know, our half-sister who we accidentally killed. Hey, Athena, how are things? Rude. Once we reach the inside of our house, Kratos begins to tighten his bandages. The scars underneath serve him as a constant reminder of his violent past, something that he never wants to visit again, with the Blades of Chaos being his main weapon back from Greece. Athena then berates Kratos for being a failure and a monster, 2 for 1. Kratos then confronts her along with his past, and to hell we now arrive. One difficult boss fight later, and we have our hearts. Now, with our ingredients in hand, we can fix Atreus. Things have gotten pretty awkward between Kratos and his son, so to break the ice, Kratos decides to tell Atreus a fun fact about himself.
I'm a god, boy. From another land far from here. When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god. And so were you. Boy, have you nothing to say?
Can I turn into an animal?
Can you turn into an animal?
It's hard not to smile after this cutscene. Without missing a beat, Atreus still manages to maintain his childlike innocence, even in an incredibly serious scene like this. Let's just hope his newfound godhood doesn't get to his head. Once again, we visit Tyr's vault to get the rune to Jotunheim. Kratos then gets trapped, but is then saved by a quickly thought-out decision by Atreus. After leaving the temple with their newly discovered rune, Kratos and Atreus share a father-son moment. Even though this scene is pretty sweet, there's no time. We have to head up the mountain again. As we take an alternate route up the mountain again, we are again interrupted by another character. Modi makes a "your mom" joke and Atreus melees him. Now that we made it to the bridge, we can finally...
Brother, this guy stinks!
Fighting ensues once again. Atreus shoots Kratos, which causes us to literally get punched into hell. Kratos then yells at Atreus for causing them to be in there in the first place. While climbing their way out, they figured out that Frey is Baldur's mother. In a misguided love for him, she blessed him with immunity. But to Baldur, this is seen more of a curse than anything else. With that in mind, our new plan is to take a boat ride up to the river and back to Midgard. Moving on down to the bottom of the realm travel room, Kratos discovers that they need to flip the entire space to get the Unity Stone. Break the chains and flip the room. Now that we have the stone, we can travel to the realm between realms. After absolutely dominating Tyr's trap, we can now travel via the gate of Jotunheim, which apparently just spawned in? One step, two steps, now we're in the realm room. Kratos tries to get the tree to work, but we need a Mimir's missing eye to act as a travel crystal. We figure out that it's located in Jormungandr's stomach. Down to the bowels of the beast we go. We grab the eye, and on our way out, Baldur again makes another appearance. This time, though, he's ready to end it all, and seeing as we are several hours into the game, so are our main characters. Baldur first, though, wants to tell off his mom. Kratos blocks him from any further action, and fighting once again ensues. Baldur commits one of the most heinous acts known to mankind. And because of Atreus' asthma, he gets a panic attack. Turns out Baldur punched the wrong part of Atreus, and as he hit the mistletoe dagger, this eliminates Baldur's immunity. And with that, we can now kill him. Frey obviously gets mad, but we don't care, because we're finally off to Jotunheim. Kratos lets go of his bandages, revealing his scars underneath. This resembles him not confronting his past, but embracing it instead. We see some newly found lore saying that Atreus is Loki, and Faye is actually Lawfey, the Just. Why did we come here again? Oh, yeah. With that, we spread Faye's ashes, and our story comes to an end. Overall, the plot is pretty good. There's a lot of fun lore to be found that I barely scratched the surface of. Also, if you're into Greek or Norse mythology, then the God of War series is a great place to sink your teeth into. Now, there are of course several things that have been changed for the sake of the story, but a lot of the same central ideas remain the same. There are a lot of cool references to previous mythological stories to be found in the game. The story itself can be described as very
Inconvenient.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say.
Several times throughout the story, we get so close to reaching Jotunheim, but then suddenly that chance is ripped away from us. This can cause sections of the game to feel boring and a bit repetitive, especially when revisiting sections of the map that we've already seen. When the story does begin to drag, the characters completely make up for it. So, overall, this game is a great story. There's so many layers to it, and when peeling through, it just gets better and better. And that's part 1 of the script. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I can get part 2 done pretty soon. I'd also like to get something miniature done in between. But again, thanks for watching.